The EU welcomed the formation of the Red Sea Council, aimed at securing the waterways of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden are two of the world's busiest shipping routes, connecting Europe to Asia and the Middle East. The council, which includes Egypt, Jordan, Eritrea, Yemen, Sudan, Djibouti, and Somalia, will increase the cooperation to tackle piracy, smuggling, and other threats in key international shipping routes. Turkey launched a military operation to push back Syrian government forces in northwest Syria, defying warnings by Russia that an armed response would be a worst-case scenario. The offensive by Turkish troops and National Liberation Front fighters targeted Assad regime forces near the village of Nayrab, a strategic center southeast of the rebel-held city of Idlib. 2 Turkish soldiers were killed and 5 others wounded during the operation after an airstrike hit Turkish troops. Turkey and Russia are discussing possible joint patrols as one way to reach a deal to halt fighting and stem an exodus of civilians in Syria's Idlib region, a Turkish official said on Thursday, a day after Ankara threatened military action to push back Syrian government forces. Turkey and Russia, which back opposing sides in the 9-year-old conflict, have failed to reach an agreement after 2 rounds of talks in the last 2 weeks. Turkey has taken in about 3.7 million Syrian refugees since the war started and says it cannot handle any more over its border, which is now closed. A man attacked an elderly muezzin at one of London's main mosques, stabbing him in the back before being arrested. Metropolitan Police said they were called to London Central Mosque in Regent's Park after reports of a stabbing. Police said the man was arrested at the scene on suspicion of attempted murder and a crime scene was put in place. The United Nations Support Mission in Libya said Libya's warring sides have resumed talks in Geneva aimed at brokering a lasting ceasefire in the country. UN Libya envoy Ghassan Salam launched a second round of military talks on Tuesday with 5 senior officers from the GNA and 5 negotiators representing the Libyan National Army LNA Commander Khalifa Haftar. The first round of military talks ended with no result earlier this month, but Salam said there was more hope this time, mainly because of the approval of a UN Security Council resolution calling for a lasting ceasefire. The UN Refugee Agency said a rubber dumpy packed with 91 migrants that set out from Libyan shores in hopes of reaching Europe has apparently gone missing in the Mediterranean. The International Organization for Migration cross-checked search and rescue records from Italy, Malta, Libya, and the non-governmental Eta Mare rescue ship, but couldn't match the missing migrant boat with any recent interceptions or rescues. An International Monetary Fund delegation began meetings with Lebanese government officials to provide advice on dealing with the country's crippling economic and financial crisis, amid concerns that it might default on its Eurobond debt payment for the first time. The IMF experts first held talks in the morning with Prime Minister Hassan Diab, who after the meeting headed to the presidential palace in Balda for a cabinet session. The delegation stayed on at the Grand Syrian in central Beirut for talks with Diab's advisors and left afterwards without speaking to journalists. The United States blacklisted 5 Iranian officials, accusing them of preventing free and fair elections a day before the parliamentary vote. The Treasury Department said in a statement it imposed sanctions on the officials, members of Iran's Guardian Council and its Elections Supervision Committee over the Council's role in disqualifying several thousand candidates. These sanctions freeze any U.S.-held assets of the officials and generally bar Americans from doing business with them. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu revealed a project to build thousands of new homes for Jewish settlers in annexed East Jerusalem. The plan, which was condemned by the Palestinians as another blow to their hopes for an independent state, comes less than 2 weeks before Israeli general election. Israeli settlements are illegal under international law, but the U.S. now disputes this. With almost 3 million Palestinians, there are almost 600,000 Israeli settlers living in the West Bank. The boss of Qatari television channel beIN Sports, Nasser Al Khalifi, and FIFA's disgraced former Secretary General Jerome Bellick have been indicted in Switzerland for corruption in the attribution of football broadcasting rights. The Swiss Attorney General's Office, OAG, said in a statement on Thursday that the two had been charged in connection with the award of media rights to various World Cup and FIFA Confederations Cup tournaments. The investigations revealed that Volk had received undue advantages from both co-accused. The Muslim World League (MWL) announced an initiative for protecting youth from extreme and violent ideas and its mechanisms of implementation, which was launched by Secretary General Sheikh Dr. Mohammed Al Isa. This came at the UN headquarters in Geneva during an international conference that was attended by prime ministers, parliament speakers, UN ambassadors, and prominent religious and intellectual figures and academics. He also said it was important to reflect how religious, ethnic, and ideological conflicts danger social harmony and world peace. A suspected right-wing extremist shot dead 9 people, including several migrants from Turkey, in an overnight rampage near the German city of Frankfurt before killing himself. The presumed killer was a 43-year-old German man who held a firearms license and was a member of a gun club. For her part, Chancellor Angela Merkel condemned the attack, which targeted 2 shisha bars in Hanau. 2 new individuals have tested positive for the coronavirus in Iran's Qom, where 2 died of it this week. The city is about 120 kilometers south of the capital, Tehran. In all, 3 people have tested positive for the virus. Meanwhile, health officials urged all religious gatherings to be suspended in the city. Iranian authorities were now investigating the origin of the disease and its possible link with religious pilgrims from Pakistan or other countries. The United Nations said that South Sudan's government forces and other armed groups have deliberately starved civilians by denying aid access and displacing communities. The 3-member commission looked into abuses between the signing of a peace deal in September 2018 and December 2019. According to the Commission, the report comes 2 days before the latest deadline to form a unity government, a process beset with delays and bickering and lack of political will. A mixed naval exercise will kick off next week as the Royal Saudi Naval Forces will host the U.S. Navy at King Abdulaziz Naval Base in the Eastern Fleet. The exercise is an extension of a series of previous joint exercises between the 2 countries. It aims to raise combat readiness to maintain freedom of maritime navigation. The exercise also enhances maritime security in the region and unifies the concepts of naval combat work. U.S. President Donald Trump promised to pardon WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange if he denied Russia-leaked emails of his 2016 election rival's campaign, a London court was told on Wednesday. Assange's lawyer Jennifer Robinson said in a document that Trump relayed the offer through former U.S. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. The White House quickly issued a denial that Trump had dangled a pardon in exchange for help in the Russia controversy, which has cast a shadow over his first term in office.